Hey everybody, my name is Rydo and today we're starting Dead Space 2. It's been a year, or just about that long, since I played Dead Space 1, although for this 2011 game it was 3 years between the development, or at least the release of Dead Space 1 and Dead Space 2. Immediately going into Dead Space 2 you are bombarded, I want to point out, with the request for you to make an EA account, which is interesting because it is later changed to Origins, and now playing this in 2018 you can't log in. Servers are down. It is if you say no, you're not able to take advantage of online features like multiplayer, which this game definitely never needed multiplayer. And I'm not really going to speak too much about Dead Space 3. It's only on Origin, it's not available on Steam, and as far as I'm concerned, just to keep things sane, to try to keep all of my hundreds of games in the same one place. If a game is not on Steam, it doesn't exist to me, which is perfectly fine for Dead Space 3. Additional single player content, I don't believe there actually is any of that to really worry about. The mouse, however, is a bit of a problem, and moving around this slightly interesting looking screen is kind of cool, but not really worth the hassle of the screen being zoomed out when this could have been at a wider, just a better zoom taking up most of the screen for ease of reading. What else to say? I think throughout the series we'll see that Dead Space 2 isn't a giant leap like Dead Space 3 into the craziness of doing multimedia, cross promotion, DLC. There is some DLC, but most of it's included in the PC version. There's one part that isn't included, but allegedly if you use a save file editor that happens to be out there, you can just unlock those outfits. It is pretty much just outfits, but the outfits I think also affect your abilities and what you can do. The save file editor also will give you infinite number of credits, which I recall in the first game I had so many nodes that I unlocked pretty much everything I cared about, with the stasis and the oxygen being the things I don't care about. I've turned on this subtitles. I could turn this to 5.1, but it wouldn't get recorded anyways. Oddly, I'm playing this right after Windows 10 updated and just decided to make it very difficult to record audio. You have to go in the privacy settings and enable it again, or for the first time ever, which certainly that wasted an hour of my life. But it does seem to also have some surround sound options now in Windows 10, so that would run a digital signal processor known as a DSP over stereo audio and make it sound slightly better if your computer happens to be plugged up to a surround sound amplifier, or maybe headphones, which I am listening to it in headphones, but I don't feel like it's a valid criticism and critique of this game if I go and change all the audio settings outside of the program itself. As for the graphic settings, everything is going to be on for the beginning, but there are some things that are questionable here about blur and motion blur. I'm not sure I really want those on. This is a kind of reasonable level of settings where it's low, medium, and high. Shadow quality has off, normal, and high, and very high, so that's about the only thing you could turn to very high. Whereas now in 2018 you get games that have ultra settings. I'm not going to mess with the brightness, and I turned off notifications because I'm sure that is just Steam notifications, or possibly EA notifications if you could ever log into it. Controls, leaving everything alone as it is. I'm playing with an Xbox, I believe it's still a 360 controller. Actually, this might be an Xbox One controller now. Yeah, I may have upgraded. Yeah. And that's kind of all we need to do. Oddly, this extras only has login and credits. And credits, of course, are to watch the credits. But when you go to single player, we're going to completely ignore the multiplayer because we can't play it. You're given this previously on Dead Space. Now, Dead Space, as I said before, did definitely embrace what was the trend at the times of having movies made and comic books and DLC and pre-order and console exclusives, which is why some of the DLC is not available on the PC version. They went very, very heavily into that, to the point where Dead Space 3 was an awful experience with that stuff. It really is the beginnings of microtransactions and just games as services ideas that we're still trying to get not to be a thing. The problem with this previously on Dead Space, and why I'm going to skip it, is it's just too long, and it immediately tells you something. Well, it immediately tells you everything that happened in the previous game from a very straightforward perspective, so there's no question, no doubt. In my mind, at the end of Dead Space 1, you could very much believe that Isaac was just crazy and he hallucinated most, if not everything that happened in Dead Space 1. That is completely dissuaded in the previously on Dead Space. And it just totally spoils Dead Space 1. On top of that, when you start a new game, you still get a recap. So if you watch the previously on Dead Space and then start a new game, which most players might do, you're still very much gonna spend 20 minutes just getting recapped before you even get into the game. Unfortunately, they really don't play with the idea that Isaac might be crazy. You could continue to believe that if you wish, but there is really no supporting evidence as the game goes along. I think Dead Space 2 ends, I don't remember its ending particularly well, or at all, but I think it ends well enough to be the end of the series. There have been articles about the cool ideas they had for Dead Space 3, but that's never going to happen. Visual Games, I believe, has been shut down now, so... and frankly, you don't need to continue the Dead Space series 7+ years later. You can just start a new horror series with the same general concepts. So that's enough introduction here. Before we hop in and I go quiet for a second, I'd ask everybody to subscribe to my channel, and we'll leave it at that. Let's begin. Okay, first decision. Do I want to play like a casual? Do I want to play normal? The description is casual. Enemies are weak with some effort you can survive, which kind of sucks because that tells me that by that description there should be something below casual, like you can breeze through it or you're guaranteed not to die. Normal is ammo and health conservation are keys to survival. A skillful trigger finger is needed to survive. That seems like that's a pretty big jump between the two. Survivalist is for veteran Dead Space players. Ammo and health are less plentiful and enemies are more deadly. So it seems like what they're trying to say here is that enemies are the same amount of deadliness in the first two, and then they get stronger in Survivalist. Zealot, ammo and health are very scarce and enemies will brutalize you, which is even harder. And then you have to finish all the game at any difficulty level to play hardcore difficulty, which kind of sucks because then that tells me unless you wanted to play it on casual very, very fast and get a lot of resources and carry those over to hardcore mode, very few people are going to have a satisfactory experience playing hardcore mode the second time. if you played like Zealot and you barely had any upgrades and you barely had any resources, and then you play in hardcore, you'd still barely have any of those resources. I suppose I'll stick with normal. I tried to play this a couple of times to get a save file to see if the save file editor would work, but then I eventually decided that that is just not a valid way to criticize a game, is to use an external cheat program to give me like all the suits and everything. That's something I'm perfectly fine doing in the second run after I've made an entire series. It's not something I agree to on the first run.
Isaac, are you there? Come in, Isaac. Oh God, I'm so sorry, Isaac. Look,
I don't know if I have to really explain any of this. The graphics look a lot better.
Good.
3 years later.
You're right, Isaac.
This game by default is not at 1080p in widescreen, but it allows you to go up to that.
They're gonna decommission her next year.
Isaac, thank you.
For what?
For just pushing me to do this. I mean, if it weren't for you, I never would have made it this far, because you made me stick with it.
I'll just remember, I'm giving you up for 6 months so you can do this.
You know what? We must be getting on a range third leg. Isaac.
So he's got a video in which he encouraged his girlfriend to be on the ship that eventually got infected and she died on.
Clarke.
Although
I believe you were telling me about your nightmares.
There's no like confirmation that she killed herself before.
What was her name?
Before the events happened of the first game.
I didn't want it to end like this. I really wanted to see you again. Just once. I loved you. I always loved you.
Yes. Nicole Brennan. She was a senior medical officer stationed aboard a
This actually looks really good for a
vessel.
7-year-old game.
Ishimura.
AAA
USG
development with a
Ishimura.
lot of money
Yes.
put onto it,
Part of
although
a mining
Dead Space
operation on
3
Aegis 7.
allegedly is
I understand
the most
communications
expensive
went down
game,
shortly after their
or
arrival.
was for a while.
You were part of the repair mission. A mission for which you volunteered, am I right? What did you find aboard that ship, Isaac?
I found something.
What did they find aboard the ship, Isaac?
The marker.
Did you have contact with this marker? It made you see things, didn't it? Things you didn't want to see.
It spoke to me.
What did it say, Isaac? What did it say to you, Isaac? Isaac? Isaac, can you hear me, Isaac?
And so, yeah, you don't know if any of that was a dream or not, but
Isaac.
you kind of assume it was real, or some of it was.
Dana, I found Isaac Clarke. Repeat, I have him.
Great work, Franco. Be careful. He's been out a long time.
Now, I would say seeing the marker
Good.
and the
Steady.
creepy girlfriend
Get you
was
out of the
not a
street,
jump
Jack.
scare. So it was,
Where am I?
even though it was spooky, it was designed to
Alright, I know you're confused right now.
to
I can
just
explain everything
introduce you
you.
to
Trust me,
the
okay?
to the
Listen,
environment,
you're in
not
terrible,
really be
terrible
scared.
danger.
That, on the other hand, is definitely supposed to be a jump scare. And see, in this sequence, in a second, I died twice before I could even get to a save point, even on normal.
Franco?
So let's see if I can do this better this time.
Oh God. Isaac! Isaac Clarke, if you can hear me, run!
So, I'm in a straitjacket with the traditional health bar idea, which was cool as an idea in the first game. So you can kind of see your life. And if you're not careful, these things will jump on you. But yeah, I didn't even make it through that door twice. Alright. So the question is, how can I get this straitjacket off? Interesting, I saw like a creepy shadow Not sure if that was intentional or not. Little ragdolling. This game had a lot of ragdolling, or the predecessor did. We've got a dead patient. And we've got legs. Now, in the first game you can stomp on things, but I really right now don't have anything. Like, until I can get out of here, I don't think that there's any settings or any actions. You can see my health is very low. I can just hit A somehow. They just said Clarke take him down. So they want me dead? Apparently too. Now we really haven't seen anything that would indicate that the Necromorphs and the marker and the leader of the Necromorphs.
All project personnel. I want the key subjects terminated and the facility scrubbed. This is not a drill.
Okay. So that's why they want me dead. Like, the Necromorphs are trying to do this. This is definitely, if they're trying to protect me, that's going to be a very limited action. Certainly. This is going to be one of those games where you could very easily not look in the right direction. Feels like I should be able to smash one of these canisters and pick something up, or smash this and pick something up, but apparently not until I get some out of this straitjacket. Let's see. Observation room with a camera. It's kind of interesting that the camera just looks like a generic camera when you're in this future space. Let's see. Here you see a model of the marker. So I think there's something more than just mental health happening here.
Still hurts?
Yes, I'll schedule you for another session tomorrow.
No, I don't think I'm ready. I don't think I can take another session out.
I think I'm supposed to be watching
First
this.
thing tomorrow. Now let's talk about what you saw today. Come on, Strauss.
I can't
I'm
even
here to
zoom
help
in.
you.
It was black. Deep black and glowing red with symbols. Symbols whispered to me.
So they want to know about the marker.
What did the symbols whisper to you? Come on, Strauss. What?
Oh, I'm supposed to be walking this way, I guess.
Put so much stuff in my head, so much shit in my head. There's no more room for anything.
Apparently. Yeah, there's like observation decks.
It looks like I can't remember.
The symbols, Strauss. What did the symbols tell you?
They told me that it wasn't my fault. I didn't kill them. They didn't deserve this, and I didn't deserve this.
Fucker. Put Mr. Strauss back in stasis, adjust his medication up 30 milligrams, and we'll try another session first thing in the morning.
So yeah, there's a lot of stuff to...
Subject is Nolan Strauss, Station 158.
So yeah, I guess you're supposed to watch most of that. You see, this could easily be a DLC closet that's only open for people who bought one bit of DLC. Although, like I said, 3 out of the 4 DLCs are just integrated and patched into this game. Which certainly shows that DLC, when it changes how a game is played, drastically changes the artistic intent, and it's hard to criticize a game if some people buy the DLC and have a great experience, and other people don't buy the DLC and they have a horrible experience. Is this guy just pointing?
Come on, man. Patient 4. I remember you. Tied said all the key subjects need to be eliminated.
He's got a knife to my throat. They didn't focus on that enough.
Listen to me, man. What matters? Listen to me. We can both get out of here. Just cut me out of this straitjacket. No one's getting out of here alive. Don't do it. There's no escaping from what I've done. Take it easy, buddy. Just take it easy.
Is he gonna slit his throat?
It's red. It's red. There's a health pack and a flashlight in that wall locker. You should grab them.
So he cuts you free and
Red.
doesn't kill
Take
himself.
I won't be needing it anymore.
So press B to restore health, and we're now at orange. We take a flashlight, which is
Isaac,
definitely not a weapon.
We're all gonna burn for what we did to you.
Well, that seemed kind of obvious. But, and then there's the ragdoll. I mean, seriously, they really needed to work on their 3D modeling engine. Particularly in a scene like this, you should have just had him fall down in the animation, and the wire-rigged animation, and then locked him in place so he couldn't be knocked around or hit, at least until I left the room. This also feels like something that might have been DLC at some point. It just seems like a really odd, out-of-place book. These could be just little Easter egg things, though. So now that I am here, do I go back this way? Or do I go this way? Let's see. We can now see the objective is this way with the right stick click, which was a cool idea. And the hologram. This whole interface idea is actually really cool, but it just does not work well for anything else apparently. Still can't.
158.
Still can't open that one. Alright, so let's run back the other way. We probably will never come back and open that door. That could be a New Game Plus thing too. In the end, we still have plenty of games with HUDs.
Clarke! Isaac Clarke, is that you?
Who are you?
My name is Dana. I'm the one trying to rescue you.
Why? What's going on?
You're suffering from a unique form of dementia, Isaac. Something you contracted on Aegis 7.
Interesting.
How do you know that? How do you know all this about me?
Your dementia will kill you. But if you can get here, I can treat you and get you to safety.
Why should I trust you?
Because I'm not the one shooting at you.
Fuck.
Just follow the route I'm sending you.
Now in the first game we had a couple of people that were on the ship with us. In the end they really didn't matter too much. There was a militaristic guy who I think a lot of times he came off very rough, but his ideas were probably pretty good. And then there was a lady in the first game that she also seemed like she was trying to do the right thing, but she was just butting heads with now in the dark. So stand in a corner. There was a lot of jump scares in Dead Space 1. I would say that the brutality in this game is a lot better. It just, in 3 years, they managed to say to themselves that yes, they could get away with going for a hard R-esque video game, whereas up to this point even horror games were still more along the lines of being at least slightly cartoony. And we can stomp on a lot of guys. Of course, the speedrunners at this point would know which ones will jump on you and which ones won't. Let's see. Until we have a gun, I don't think there's too much I can do. The other factor I would say is that slashing and swinging your arms, like, I feel like there was a button for that, but I can't find it. And without finding what that button is, I think this game might be a little bit more heavy on the concept of things crawling on you. There's definitely something over there to collect, but I've got to figure out the path. Creepy audio. The audio sounds very well done in this game. And this game, I would say, is a better mix. Oh, it's just a blinking clock. I'd say it's a better mix of jump scares and actual danger than a whole generation of games that came out past this. I recently played Layers of Fear, which is a game that's 100% jump scares, and there's literally no real danger happening to you at all. You can just allow things to attack you and it seemingly kill you, and the game just continues going forward. I think once that realization is made, you've lost your audience's attention. So let's press back to play this.
TPS report 1418. The recent realization that the popsicle sticks were being constructed into marker-like miniatures for over a year has led to a search of the unit for any other such phenomena. It appears widespread, with marker forms being made out of medication bottles, hypodermic needles, and even toiletry items like nail clippers and tweezers. The research teams have all been notified of the discovery.
And when you were being interviewed at the beginning, there was a marker-like Rubik's Cube on the field. Like, is it really necessary to save here? I can't even find the right button. I'm not sure if actually adding save spots in this game does anything that's helpful either. Like, nowadays, what you would prefer to do is have checkpoints in specific spots, or just instantaneous saving whenever you felt like it. Like, a modern game would just be able to press start and save. This is, I don't know what you call this, some kind of toiletry place where you're hosing down people, some sort of showers. Gravity still feels off in this game, and like, I get it that we may not be on Earth, but I still very much would prefer a Earth-like experience. Like, I really would prefer to kick something and knock something over and it move a little bit less than what that did. So we get a creepy hallucination, and we can look at our rig. So let's take a moment to, the game is not paused by the way. We have our missions now, we have a couple of databases, and we have a flashlight labeled as a weapon. You have what is a small amount of inventory, which I believe, if it's like the first game, gets upgraded when you get a better suit. But you're probably never going to get below more than 25 slots. But items stacked, that's fine. And then this is the patient suit. It has 128 seconds of air, and or no, 120 seconds of air, 2 minutes. I have 0 nodes and 0 credits. So at this point I could go change my save file. I could unlock every option that the save file editor for Dead Space 2 allows and give myself 999 nodes and probably well over 999 credits and just ruin the game for me completely. And sure, if this was the second or third time you're playing the game and you wanted to do that, that'd be fine. Although, frankly, even on the second or third time you're playing it, unless you want to play on hardcore mode in a New Game Plus, you still probably wouldn't ever really have a great experience doing that. These cheating things, which I do want to point out in this instance, exists because there is allegedly, from what I understand, some DLC items you can get through that save file editor that you can't get any other way. But there's most of the time when you use a cheating engine or cheat software, you really just ruin it for yourself. It is also worth mentioning that trying to experience all of what is Dead Space is kind of impossible because there was some exclusives made, exclusive content for Xbox. There was probably a little bit of exclusive content for the PlayStation, although I wouldn't be surprised if there wasn't because PlayStation wasn't really courting Western games at that time. There's definitely an exclusively made Dead Space game for the Wii. There are 2 anime movies out there that you can get those on Steam and watch them, but they're not really worth watching. I've seen at least one of them, and while it's a slightly interesting concept and idea, it certainly didn't really add anything to the story. And I've never played Dead Space 3, so my understanding of the story, I think, is probably the best understanding of the story, which is play Dead Space 1, play Dead Space 2, and pretend like nothing else was made. Well, it's been 30 minutes. I know it was a slow startup, but that won't be the case anymore. I end all my episodes the same way. I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos because all that helps me with YouTube and tells them that my videos are worth recommending. If you want to friend or follow me on any kind of social media sites like Twitter, Tumblr, Google+, Steam, or Battle.net, all of those links are down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, there are donation links in which you could make a one-time gift to me on Steam by just friending me on Steam and gifting me either a game off my wish list or just anything you'd like to see me cover, or you could simply gift me a gift card via Steam, or you can become a monthly Patreon and support me through that for as little as $1 a month. That's it for this recording. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.